You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton, coming at you guys here with another great episode. Hope to be a great episode, but we got a rising star and somebody that is no stranger to social media and YouTube and running a lawn and landscape business, and that is Jake, Jake the Lawn Kid. So, Jake, welcome to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, we got a little sneak peek after hearing you on Paul Jameson's podcast just about a week ago, and it was really fun getting to hear you talk and share your story. Hopefully, we go into a little bit more detail. I am excited to have you on the podcast. So, if you guys don't know Jake actually has a lawn and landscape business as well, but he's also got a huge social media presence because he built his own platform, but he did something really intelligent is he partnered up and did some collaboration with a really popular name out there called Alan Hain with the Lawn Care Nut, which is really cool. So Jake has seen like this whole evolution of Alan Hain come onto the scene, and he capitalized on that by growing his own brand as well. So Jake, welcome to the show, man. It's so exciting to have you.
I'm excited, man. Let's do this.
There you go, man. You're fired up. I said, hey, Jake, do you have any ground rules or anything you need? He's like, no, dude, I'm ready. Just put me in. I'm like, all right, dude. So it's so, well, let's do this, man. Can you get these guys up to speed with what you got going on right now? I know you're 18 and just got out of school, but get these guys up to date a little bit more with some of the details, maybe last minute or two. Last few years of your life, maybe in the next minute or two.
All right. So just to fire it off for anybody who's listening, who's new to me and who I am, my name is Jacob Sullivan, and I run the brand Jake the Lawn Kid. Jake the Lawn Kid is kind of a entity of so many different things, mainly as you guys may know who've been following along with me. It's my social media, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, pretty much all of them. And on there, we specialize in teaching a variety of things lawn care related. We do both things on the DIY side, as well as this year we've been experimenting more with things on the pro side. So a little bit about my background. I've been in the lawn care industry now for about 6 years. Lawn care is one of those things that has just been in my blood forever since I was like very, very young. But it wasn't until the inspiration of living next door to Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, for 10 plus years, him pushing me to get out there, start my own YouTube channel and my own lawn care business, that things finally took off for me. So I accredit a good portion of my success to him. And here we are 5 years later. I run a YouTube channel with 30,000 subscribers, and we're pumping out videos all the time on the weekly, sometimes on the daily, and on the Instagram as well. We're tripling down on those fall tones right now, keeping that Instagram colorful and neat to bring in new people every day. So,
dude, that's so cool, man. That's awesome, dude. Well, we're going to press you for some stories, man. Maybe some stories we haven't heard yet about Jake the Lawn Kid, and some other stories about Alan Hain. Because, man, I remember back in 2016, 17, when I was getting started on YouTube, Alan Hain was crushing it. He's still crushing it. And, but, you know, I always saw this, like, all these videos were always promoted to me from Jake the Lawn Kid, JKTL, whatever, right? And I'm like, man, that hashtag and Jake the Lawn Kid, he's everywhere. And in homeowner YouTube wasn't as big as it was today for lawn care. It was Alan Hain, my friend Tim Linden with Grass Daddy, maybe a couple other guys like Ryan Knorr, but not really. It was really infancy. I'd say most of the lawn care YouTube was the contractor guys. I would say that balance of powers or the two different groups out there, they're both pretty large now between contractors and the homeowner gang. And even though you're a younger kid, young man, I put you into that homeowner camp, and because I see you and I see Alan, I see you, and so any which way, we're going to talk about your whole story with running a business, cutting lawns, and just hear your story a little bit, man. I think it's really, really cool and an inspiration for some of the younger guys. And again, I think you're just very smart to partner up with Alan Hain. So, and by the way, speaking of partners, that's a good segue there, as Paul likes to say with my transitions, right, Jake? So we'll kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, because we want to hear from some of our partners, which is our show sponsors, to bring you guys the show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So let's kick it over to Marty, and we'll come right on back.
Time now for a Fullerton Unfiltered Rewind.
As my business grows, I buy an F-150. It's again $10,000. So I'm like, oh my God, $10,000 on for a truck. It's $225 a month or whatever it is. Who knows what the interest rate was? 3, 4, 5, 7%. And we're growing the company. Well, I needed a truck to grow the business. And what can I do now? Well, now I can pull my trailers around. I can add snow blowing to my business because now I can zip around town with my snow blowers and grow my revenue in the winter. So we've always had 20, 30, 40 residential accounts. My prices were like $100 for the season, when I was like 19. I didn't know what I didn't know for annual service, which is ridiculous, right? A lot of you guys are like shaking your head, but here's the deal. I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's why I'm so confident today about helping give advice because I know what I did wrong for a decade. It's so crystal clear.
You can catch up on previous episodes you may have missed or need to hear again at LawEntrepreneurAcademy.com.
What do you do after you're known as the #1 selling brand of gasoline-powered handheld outdoor power equipment in America? You build a series of professional-grade battery products with the quality and performance you've come to expect from Steel, but with zero gas and zero exhaust emissions. One battery fits multiple tools for extensive use on a wide range of properties. Visit steelusa.com to learn more. #1 selling brand is based on syndicated Irwin Bro research of 2009 to 2019 U.S. sales data for the gasoline-powered handheld outdoor power equipment category for commercial landscapers.
Need professional-grade yard shoes or landscape boots for you and your crew? Visit CujoYardwear.com and use the promo code Bryans10 to save 10% and receive free shipping. Now, back to the podcast.
Awesome. Great deal. We'll always appreciate Marty bringing the show to you guys. So, Jake, let's jump right back into it here and just let's not waste any time. So, okay, so you were how old when you started having this affinity for lawn care landscaping? Were you like 10, 12, 15 years old? And then Alan Hain moved in next door to you? Is that kind of your origin story here?
All right. So I get this question a lot, and I'm just going to break it down and start from the very beginning. So
yeah.
It all started when I was very, very before pre-Alan Hain, pre-all of that. So it started with two things in my life. And this is back when I was very, very young. I'd just say about 4 or 5 years old. Like I had these gut feelings inside of me. So I knew that when I got older, I was always saying, when I want to grow up, I want to do my own thing, right? So I always had that going for me. I never wanted to be told what to do. I wanted to be in my own control, per se. And on top of that, I had like a love for lawn care. As a matter of fact, when I was very, very young, anytime that I was offered to do chores around the house, like I started doing chores when I was like 6, 7 years old. I was like, hey, can I mow the lawn? So I started doing that more and more and often.
Okay.
I fell in love with it, really loved it. And I actually came to find that, as a 7-year-old who easily gets stressed out sometimes, it's a great way to relieve a little bit of stress, right? Because you're getting that physical exertion and you're pushing a machine,
sure,
so to say, right? And it wasn't until maybe 2013, 2014, this is where Mr. Hain comes into the story. So him and we were neighbors for 10 years in a row. We moved into these cookie cutter houses. He was there before we were. And it really wasn't until 2013, 2014, that's about 9 years into being neighbors, that he was like, Jake, I notice your passion. I notice your hustle for lawn care. You should definitely do two things. Number one, you should start a lawn care business in the neighborhood. And number two, you should also start making videos about it on YouTube. Use YouTube as a way to explain the why behind the services that you're providing in your business as you grow. So that was the initial intention with it.
Okay.
And then, from there, I handed out some flyers around the neighborhood, got 3 counts my first year. And then the rest from there was word of mouth. And today we're at 15 plus accounts right now. And again, social media is just flourishing. So just having Alan there when I was a kid pushing me to, get out there, brand yourself as young, take advantage of your youth and show these customers what you're worth. It really took off and had a lot of positive dividends for me, so to speak. So I'm very, very grateful for where I'm at today. And again, I attribute a portion of what I'm doing today to him pushing me to do that.
Did your parents ever think it was weird, or did any of your friends ever think it was weird that you were like doing YouTube or social media? Because I mean, you got to think like in 2020, everybody's got an Instagram, everybody's got a YouTube channel or a Facebook or trying to hustle. And that's awesome. I mean, this is my side hustle. I do this nights and weekends, right? So were you like the weirdo, or were you like the cool kid, or were people making fun, or did people think it was cool? Can you weigh in on that at a young age?
Okay. So real quick, so just to go back to what I said earlier, the YouTube thing was Alan's idea. Actually, he had a talk with me and my dad, and he was like, listen, Jake, I see your hustle. I see your passion. I want to brand you as the lawn kid. Right. So that's how that off. And my dad was on board. He was like, this would be great. This will get Jake to do something that he really, really loves. So go for it. But on the other end of the spectrum, going to school day in and day out was kind of rough the first couple of years, but I learned how to get used to it.
Sure.
Because in the first couple of years, a lot of people are like, oh, this kid has a YouTube channel. He talks about grass. Why doesn't he do something normal, right? Like maybe go get a job on the weekend or whatever. And then,
right.
And, I would just be like, hey, at least I'm doing what I like. I appreciate you for noticing. And the fact that you decide to make fun of me actually shows me I'm doing something right. So thank you very much.
There you go, man. That's awesome, dude. That's so cool. Well, it's funny because I was in the same boat as a young kid. I was 12, 14, 15 years old. I remember like it was yesterday, and I was pushing my little mower, in my little trailer park lawns, and, I put the trimmer on there, all really cute. I put the little leaf blower on there. Yeah, and I would hustle that thing, man, like hundreds and hundreds of yards from house to house. Like it was a huge trailer park subdivision, if you will. And it was funny, but man, I had other people making fun and poking fun, Brian and his little lawnmower. And I'm like, dude, I was 12, 14, 15 years old, like imagining the truck and rig I have today. It took 15 years for me to get there, if you will. Right. But I was like, dude, this isn't who I am. Like, I'm going to be somebody, I'm going to do something. And I like what you said, like people were making fun, but now you get the last laugh because you've had all this success. But what kept you going through the years when you had people poking fun, man? What kept you going?
So if I got to be honest, I think it was definitely my dad and Alan, because one thing that they've always instilled in me from the very beginning, my dad always instilled this in me was, Jake, the world isn't sunshine and rainbows, right? Not everyone's going to compliment you for every single thing you do. You're going to have haters, and you're going to have people that are telling you you're doing it wrong, or you could do it this way, or maybe you're not on the right path to success, right? You're going to have tons of people like that in your lifetime. But it's not about, getting the compliments and hearing how great you are, because let's be honest, we know that from the hard work we're putting in. But it's more so, what can we do? How well do we handle the people who tell us that we can't do it, right? That's really what I focus on, and how I build resilience against those types of people.
That's awesome, man. Do you think those are practical life skills that are going to pay dividends for you over the next 15, 20, 30 years? Or is that just something 100%. That... What's your biggest takeaway creating such a large YouTube and social media following so far that at your age? What do you think the biggest takeaway or benefit is right now for having so much social media out there?
So I think that a couple of things. Number one, you get more exposure, right? You get the word out there about what you're doing, especially if you're a business. But on the creator side of things, because I do talk with a lot of young kids in my age group who are like, hey, I want to start a channel. I don't know what to make content about. Let yourself guide the content, because it's going to be way more fun for you, especially if you're already part of an industry that you really, really like, be it that you're in the green industry, or maybe you're whatever you want to be. The biggest thing to me, like I said, whether you're a lawn care guy or not, just let your mind guide the content, because that's where you're going to have the most fun, and that's where it's really going to pay off for you in the long term.
There you go. Well, I love watching like the younger guys out there, like Southern Stripes Lawn Care, Twin Trimmers, Christian with CNI, Ross Lawn Care, Brendan, all these younger guys. It's crazy to see what you guys all have available at your fingertips at 17, 18, 19 years old, Let me ask you this. I know you love to teach, and you're really educated with what you're doing with social media. Why should somebody pay attention to social media? Why, if I'm a 30-year-old, okay, imagine this. I'm a 32-year-old dude. I started my lawn and landscape company. I've got 2 years under my belt. I listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast and the Green Industry podcast, but I don't have a Facebook business page. I don't have an Instagram. I don't really have time for that. what would you say to that person who maybe doesn't have the biggest social media following or no social media following? Why they should? Are they leaving something on the table? Is there money to be made? And I don't mean like sponsors and brand deals. I mean like actual business. Right. So what would you tell somebody who thinks social media isn't here to stay at your age?
I would just tell them, hey, go where the attention's at. Gary Vee says it all the time, right? Because let's be honest, direct mail, as prominent as it is, as much of a return as you get from handing out flyers, keep doing that stuff. But I also think it's very important to take advantage of the digital components, if you will, that we have today, right? Because that's where a lot of believe it or not, that's where some of my leads come from today in my lawn care business. If I want to advertise a new service I'm doing, or maybe a new, maybe to some newer people that are moving within the neighborhood, they're always on the Facebook pages, right? They're always like, who do I hire for this? Who do I hire for that? And that's where you come in. You just stand apart and you just tell people, I'm here to do the job for you.
Wow. So you're saying go where the attention is, and most of the attention is online.
Right. Exactly.
So what's your go-to right now? You said you're big on Instagram. You got YouTube. What's some of the big players out there that people, if they want to grow social media following, where should they start?
Okay. So are we talking influencer or are we talking business?
Let's talk about business. No, I like to talk about business. I want to help the guys listening right now how to make more money with their lawn and landscape company.
Okay. So Facebook is definitely a big one. Definitely get on Facebook because, again, on my neighborhood Facebook group alone, I have a lot of younger people that are actually moving into the suburbs, so to speak, right? And they're always looking for work that needs to be done. So that's a great place to collect leads. And secondly, YouTube is a good one because YouTube, even if you're not looking to become the big old influencer, right? Because you may think you don't want to do it, right? That's totally fine. But it's also a great idea to just get on there and tell people a little bit about, the services you're doing. Introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about the behind the scenes to your company because in the end, they're probably going to want to hire you over some dude who doesn't have social media because the credibility is there. People are seeing it at their fingertips. So that's where I would definitely say, get on social media because you're missing out.
That's awesome, man. I like what you just said. I feel like if I could summarize it, it's people want to do business with people who they know and they trust. And I think social media provides that kind of like that glass house or that looking lens. You can take a peek into somebody's life or business through social media, right? Like, for example, I've got a really practical example. I have a couple actually, but I've had customers call me and they say, hey, we're looking for service in, this area. And I say, yeah. I said, we're only looking for customers between such and such roads. And they go, oh yeah, no, we know that. We listen to your podcast, your voicemail and your YouTube videos. Like we're right here on, Maple Road. And I go, wait, what? And they're like, I'm like, you watch my YouTube videos? And they go, oh yeah, like if you type in lawn care Wixom, not only do you come up number one in Google, my business listing, Bing, little win there. But number two, the next 3 or 4 lines down is all my YouTube videos and my YouTube channel. And I go, oh really? And they go, yeah, we know like you got the red truck, the red trailer. Actually, my kids love watching your videos. And they go, yeah, and we know you're not the cheapest guy in town because you want to get paid what you're worth. And we're totally willing to pay that because we want to have somebody that's on our property that's safe and does a good job. In fact, we can't wait to hire you and Rob and have you guys over at our property. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like creepy, but kind of cool too. But they know me, they know the business, they know what to expect. And I think if you contrast that to somebody who has no social media, like an Instagram, yes, YouTube is a little bit more effort. I'll be the first to admit. But you don't have to do social media like Jake and I are doing, where you're trying to create a brand. You can make 2-minute videos with your iPhone and get a little gimbal. I mean, would you say that you can still do that, Jake, to grow your social media following, even if you don't want to do it how you and I are doing?
Oh, 100%. And I got a great example for someone who started like that. Some of you, because I know that, all walks of life are in this industry. I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, Ryan. Do you know Pete with GCI Turf?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's a good buddy of mine. And I know he built a big brand, big business. We're not going to get into that. But when he started, he was telling me he had a similar story to what I have, except it's like scaled bigger than anything I would have ever thought of, right? He just started making videos that he could put on his website for his customers to see. And then obviously it turned into a mass, variety of different people coming in who enjoyed them for his personality.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, if you wanted to, like, I fully endorse the idea of pulling out your phone and doing like 2-minute lawn tips on site. As a matter of fact, that's like another series alone that you could have, where it's like, hey, what's up, everybody? 2-minute tip here. Want to show you why we pick up leaves during the fall, why we fertilize like this, how we fertilize like this. All that type of stuff is there.
Wow.
So that's definitely a great way to take advantage of it.
I like that a lot, man. Well, let's do this. I want to hear a little bit more about the brass tacks, the X's and O's. I heard you hint at some stuff on Paul's podcast about how to do Instagram and how to do social media. And I know some of you guys might be listening in, you're 34 and you're like, hey, what can I learn from an 18-year-old? Listen, I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot. He's a young stud. He's kicking butt. The guy's got 50,000 people following him through YouTube and Instagram. Let's humble the ego. Let's put that aside and let's learn from a young guy who's kicking butt and taking names here. Because anytime, people are talking, I'm always learning, and I want to humble the ego too and listen from a young stud named Jake, because he's got it going on with branding, colors, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So Jake, let's hang tight here. We're going to kick it back over to Marty, Mr. Producer, here again from the show sponsors. We got to pay the bills, and we'll come right on back and hear a little bit more about the X's and O's about how to do social media from Jake the Lawn Kid.
What do you do after you're known as the #1 selling brand of gasoline-powered handheld outdoor power equipment in America? You build a series of professional-grade battery products with the quality and performance you've come to expect from Steel, but with zero gas and zero exhaust emissions. One battery fits multiple tools for extensive use on a wide range of properties. Visit steelusa.com to learn more. #1 selling brand is based on syndicated Irwin Bro research of 2009 to 2019 U.S. sales data for the gasoline-powered handheld outdoor power equipment category for commercial landscapers.
Ratings and reviews. Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
Well, let's see what people are saying about 5-Star Fullerton's podcast. Nugent Lawn Care. Love the podcast, Brian. I'm starting my own business this fall. Definitely nervous, but between the podcast and your YouTube channel, I've learned some extremely valuable tips, tricks, and lessons to take with me. He says, keep up the great work. People like me rely on you. Jacob Maggard writes in, of course, these are all 5 stars. The absolute best podcast I've ever listened to. I love the extra nuggets that everybody drops. Thank y'all and have a great day. Well, Jacob, you have a great day as well, my friend. Ryan writes, Brian is the top resource that I have found when searching for advice to improve my business, from his YouTube to podcast, and especially his Lawntrepreneur whole ball of wax programs. I've gained knowledge and confidence that I couldn't find anywhere else. I've been pleasantly pleased that much of his content has also been focused on the mental and subconscious, which I did not expect at first, and has only cemented my admiration. Keep up the good work, and thank you. That is from Ryan Cheek. Ryan actually reached out to me on Instagram at Mr. Producer, MR Producer USA. We've connected to work together on creating a radio commercial for his snow removal business that will run in his local market. And I just want to drop you guys a little tip here. If you're doing some outreach in this area, sell the benefits to your client. Don't tell me how great you are and how you've got this and that. I want to know, am I going to have the confidence that I can get out of the driveway in the morning? Am I going to feel secure knowing that if the ambulance needs to arrive, that they're going to get to me? So be thinking in terms of what is the benefit for your potential client. That's one of the keys to great marketing. This one comes from Connor Morris, who says, Brian, and by the way, that was a free tip. The commercials aren't free, but the tip was, Brian, I cannot thank you and your guest enough for the continued tips and business advice. I'm only 21, only 2 years into my lawn and landscape business in Tampa, Florida. I can always take something away from every podcast that will help me grow and be more efficient. Keep up the awesome podcast. Well, thank you, Connor. Hey guys, if the show is meaningful to you, take 60 seconds, drop a 5-star Fullerton rating and a few sentences about how the show is impacting you.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
All right, good deal, guys. Well, Jake, let's jump right back into it, man. I want to know a little bit more of the X's and O's about how you approached social media and maybe anything you learned from Alan, anything you learned on your own, of course, along the way. I don't want to take any credit away from you building this brand because, like you said, Alan got you started, but he can't be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, keeping it going for you. So you had to take the reins. So let's talk about, if we're going to continue on that topic with crushing it on social media, maybe Facebook, making posts for their actual business, and then Instagram. Can we talk a little bit about some helpful tips to these guys if they're just getting in, or maybe they even have an Instagram account, how to brand it, how to keep it looking cohesive? I really like that kind of stuff. I'm always trying to study that kind of stuff. So let's start with Instagram. I'm going to kick it over to you. How can they grow and develop a better Instagram profile?
Okay, so I'm really glad we get to talk about this because having an Instagram account and having pictures that flow cohesively, they have similar colors, similar tones to one another. They transition from season to season, right? It may sound a little advanced at first, but I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it. So first things first, if you don't have an Instagram account for your business, I highly recommend you start one because the cool thing about Instagram is when you post something on Instagram, you can also share it on Facebook. Like that's an in-app option, if you will. So if you want to share that with your customers on a Facebook page, you could definitely do that. No problem. Just, share to Facebook, done, right? So let's go ahead and get to the colors part. So when you get to Instagram, again, I like to approach it like it's my portfolio. Kind of like I talked about in Paul's podcast, I treat my Instagram like a portfolio for Jake the Lawn Kid, right? But let's talk about you guys, how you could treat it like a portfolio for your business. So right at the gate, when I do all my pictures and stuff, obviously I color correct them with Adobe Lightroom and I use presets and all that stuff. But I feel like that's that might be a little technical for those of you guys who are just getting into the game. So let me go ahead and talk to those who are just getting into it, and maybe give you guys an option that's a little less intimidating than having to color grade photos and all that. Because I understand that can be very tedious, if you will, for a newcomer. So, so really it just comes down to the colors, right? It just looks nice when all the colors on your Instagram match, right? If you're posting stripes, maybe you're transitioning from stripes to your setup, right? You just want to keep like seasonal colors, if you will, right? You're doing a lot of blue, white, and green in the summertime, and then you transition more with red going into fall time, which then becomes like red, oranges, and yellows. And then obviously winter, it's pretty much white for a lot of you guys, right? So, and on top of that, another thing that is very good for a newcomer to do, it's very easy, doesn't take a whole lot of thinking, is Insta TV and Insta Stories. I think Insta Stories is a great place to, start along with posting those pictures with matching colors, because one of the things you could do on there is be like, hey, here we are at a site. Here's what we're doing. Here's the behind the scenes. Here's a little bit of how we run our crews. Here's how we do it so that it gets done in a timely manner. You can do all that stuff. And on Insta Story, I think it's great for like quick tips. Maybe you want to teach your customers something. This is why we do this. This is why we do that. Or again, maybe just any fellow lawn kids out there like me who want to learn from the bigger guys. I just see a lot of potential with those three options.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, let me ask you this. What is color grading and like color correcting? So like you're talking about being intentional with your Instagram, right? So it's not just Instagram is the thing where you can just throw photos up there. You just muck it up there, throw a photo, whatever, right? But there's some of you guys out there that do a great job with their Instagram, like J. Jacob Grounds, Jeremy Connect, great buddy of mine. Fantastic photos, fantastic shots. You can tell that it wasn't just like, oh shoot, we need to make a post today. It was like a cinematic looking photo where he might have put it into a Lightroom. So can you give like super high level but practical tips, 90 seconds or less? Like if you were going to take a photo, what's a couple things you're looking for? And then also, how are you going to color grade that? Or what are you using right now to make a photo look its best before you slap it up on Instagram?
Okay, so a couple of things. When I color grade and color correct photos, if you will, I do use the Lightroom mobile app. And I also do like to follow a very fond, famous photographer in the photo industry, and that is Peter McKinnon.
There you go.
I'm sure those of you guys who are in the photo cinema game, you may know who that is. I'm not going to get too technical here because he has a lot of great tips. He even has a preset pack that I use to color grade my photos. But aside from that, just picking hues and all that stuff, because that does get a little too advanced for people.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to taking a photo on Instagram, I like to be very intentional with it. Kind of like you were saying earlier, Brian, I like to be very intentional, meaning that when I post certain things on my Instagram, I like to look at what I'm posting and when, right? So if let's say we're in the summer heading into fall, I don't want to just keep posting lawn stripe after lawn stripe after lawn stripe. I want to maybe get some portraits of me in there with the backpack blower, maybe even get down and dirty within the bush leaves, get those in the edges of the frame to be out of focus, and have maybe the mower in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just getting those colors in there. So it's just about being intentional and not taking the same photos over and over and over again, adding a little bit of variety to it, a little pattern, if you will.
There you go. Okay. Well, I like that.
I think one person who does this really well, I talked about this on Paul's podcast, is your wife, Liz. She does a great job with cohesively blending photos together, the matching tones, the matching colors, transitioning from summer to fall. She's got that nailed. So if you're going to talk to anybody in the industry, talk to Liz.
It's funny you said that. And I appreciate the kind words, because I'll be the first to admit, and I say this every single day to my wife. I'm like, dude, your photos rock. My photos, I'm like, my photos suck. I'm like, I've watched the Peter McKinnons, I've watched the Casey Neistats. That's actually something that's a personal goal of mine, is to like start getting better at taking photos. And I've spent a lot of time listening to her the last, I'd say like month and a half. She's made me presets. She's made me like custom filters. Actually, funny story. We might make we're learning how to do this. We don't know. I don't know what we're doing, but we're going to maybe make a preset available on the website to help you guys take photos. And then, like Jake said, you download the Lightroom app. It might be like $10 or $15 a month, part of the Adobe suite. But if you have these custom preset packs, then you can slap that preset or a filter. It's not called a filter, but it's called a preset. And you can take that photo and it will color grade, it'll sharpen, add shadows, take away shadows, contrast, basically enhance that photo. And so I told Liz, I said, hey, I've got a whole industry of people that have Instagrams and they're trying to market their business. I'm like, you take photos better than anybody I know. Can you make me a preset? And then can you also make a couple other different designs? Like you were just saying, one for a greens, one for a reds, one's for an orange, one's for a yellow, for different types of the season, right? Like you were just saying.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're going to work on towards fall to have available for people in the spring, where you can get, 4 custom presets for $10 or $20 and then help you guys take your Instagram and branding to the next level. But dude, Liz takes incredible photos, but then the way she edits them, it's authentic. It looks natural, but it just looks enhanced and 10 times more vivid, more just better. I don't know how to describe it. I told her all the time, like, you have a gift for taking good photos. And yes, I will say, like, if you go on her feed, every photo blends. Like, she has certain colors and lights and pastels, and it looks airy, it looks fun, it looks vibrant, it looks joyful. Is the word I told her the other day that I would just best describe her and her content. Me, I'm like a pig in a parlor, dude. It's just crap. I throw up everything on Instagram. I don't even care. And I go, hey, what do you think my angle is? She goes, you're authentic. And I go, thanks. And then I walk away. And then like 2 minutes later, Jake, when you get married and you find a wife, you'll learn how this works. But it's like a grenade. Like 3 seconds later, it goes off. You know what I mean? And so I walk away like all proud, and then I get in the bedroom and I'm like, I'm authentic. And then it hits me. I go, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So, because my Instagram sucks. Like it grows, but it's just because I post 3 times a day. That's my secret to crushing it on Instagram, is just post 3 to 4 times a day and try to engage everybody. And one thing I would say, if I can throw a tip out there, not that I'm the guru, but it's called social media marketing. And I think one thing that a lot of people miss is the social in social media marketing. And look, I don't like people as much as you guys don't like people. We're all lawn care guys. We don't want to talk to people. I don't want to talk to people. You don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all hermit kind of, not everybody, but a lot of us are hermit type of people. I'll be the first to admit it. But you got to engage. If you're doing social media and you're not engaging on your DMs, you're not engaging in the comments, hitting the heart button, hitting a reply back, not to everybody, but you got to show that you're there. That's one thing I extremely pay attention to is engagement, more than numbers, more than following. YouTube, I'm always talking conversion, and in Instagram, I'm always talking engagement. And so if you run a lawn and landscape company and, you have somebody that says, hey, like, we live in your area, we'd love a quote, and you let that comment go unnoticed for 3 days, I would say you're probably not doing social media justice. Does that make sense to you, Jake?
100%. Yep, 100%. Never leave them on red.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by never leave them on red? What's that mean?
Meaning that you read them and you just don't answer them.
Yeah, huge tip. It's so simple, right, Jake? But that's almost like somebody calling your business phone number, leaving a voicemail, and you not calling them back in 2020.
100%. Yep. 100%.
That's interesting, man. Yeah, I would say if you guys haven't yet, follow Jake on Instagram. Jake, what's the socials? Where can everybody find you really quick so I don't forget?
Okay, so YouTube, it's just Jake the Lawn Kid on YouTube. Same on Facebook. Instagram is at Jake the Lawn Kid, no capitals, no spaces. And on Twitter, I don't know if any of you guys are on Twitter. I'm barely on Twitter, but Twitter is the same as Instagram, at Jake the Lawn Kid, no capitals, no spaces. And that's pretty much it.
No cap. All right. Gotcha. That's what the kids say. All right. So let's do this. Let's talk about quick tips here. We got about 5 or so minutes left. I want to get as much out of you as I can. And we definitely, we got to get you back on the show. You're just such a fun kid to talk to, man. Like, you got it going on. I'm super excited for you, and the future is so bright. But any takeaways or anything that you want to give these guys as tips about growing an online presence, growing their social media and marketing? Well, next time we get you on the show, we'll talk about some other things with growing a business, or how you handle your customers in real life. But any last minute takeaways for these guys?
Okay, so yeah, my biggest thing to you would be this is going to be another Gary Vee quote here. In the beginning, I recommend you just document every step. Right?
Okay.
Instagram stories, Brian, you're crushing it here. You have like 70 bubbles every time I go on Instagram, and boy, that's a great way to stay engaged with everybody. And like you said, checking DMs, having a big presence there when people write to you, that's very, very important. That's going to instill trust in the viewers, in the customers, because they're going to know, hey, this guy doesn't only know his stuff, but he also likes to engage with his community. And just being consistent with it, staying on top of it, taking the pictures that you like and maybe varying it up a little bit on your Instagram's page, your YouTube channel with your content that you're making for your customers. That's where it really becomes fun and interesting.
I love it, man. I love it a lot. Well, it's funny you say that, because here's something that's funny to me, and I eat it up, but I have fun with it too, is people send me DMs. We get a lot of DMs, and I love it. I love interacting with you guys. If you ask a question, like, shoot me a DM. Don't shoot me a DM and say, hey man, what's up? Like, if you're shooting me that, you don't have anything going on. Okay. Like, people who have things going on, they're not messaging people saying, hey dude, what's up? How's your day? Like, that's not hustle. Okay. That means you got free time and you need to go hustle. Now, if you got a legit question, shoot me a DM. I'll help you out. But something that warms my heart all the time is when people shoot me a message, Jake, and they're like, holy crap, you respond. And I'm like, yeah, I respond. Why wouldn't I respond? Like, I always say, like, if you spend time to write, I'm going to spend time to respond. Like, it's a relationship. I care about you guys, and you guys care about me. And I don't know, Jake, do you ever like, can you imagine, Jake, not getting back to people that DM you, or not getting back the voicemails for 2, 3, 4 days?
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I've done it before. Won't do it again.
Yeah. I have a rule, 24 hours or less. Cause after that, I lose the story. If you tag me in a story, that's the one thing I try to harp on Liz. I'm like, cause she'll check them once a week. She's very scheduled, very organized. And she's like, I'm like, how's your Instagram today? Like, you get any messages? She's like, I haven't checked that yet today. And I'm like, oh, why haven't you checked your Instagram? I'm like, as beautiful as it is, like, you got to get back with people. She goes, I have a schedule.
Tuesday.
She's like, I check it on Wednesdays and I check it on Saturdays. And that's how, and this actually might be a tip. Maybe I should learn from my wife, but that's
right back Wednesday.
Well, yeah. Well, that's how she keeps it from owning her conscious. Like, it's always, because social media can just be overwhelming. It's like, it's a hose that never turns off, right? By design, it's there to distract you. So no, this has been really, really good. I know we kind of stayed in one lane here as we were talking about social media marketing. I wanted to get you on the show because, dude, I mean, you've got 30,000 people on YouTube, 20,000 plus people on Instagram. Everything you're doing looks really, really good. It's cohesive. It's intentional. You have a lot of good thought into it. So, next time we get you on the show, we got to talk a little bit more about some funny stories with Alan Hain. All right. Can we do this?
Sure. Yeah.
I want to know what he's like behind the scenes. I want to know how you guys film videos together. I want to know your thought process about growing a YouTube channel, working with sponsors, working with brands. So can we chisel out some time in the next 2-3 months and we'll get you back on the show as a repeat guest?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, dude. Well, there you go. All right. I appreciate that. Well, all right. Any last things you want to leave these guys? But if not, we'll button this thing up.
No, that's pretty much it. Just keep hustling and having fun, everybody. That's what we're here for.
Amen, dude. All right, guys. Well, that's it from this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered, short and sweet. We got none other than the GOAT. We got Jake the Lawn Kid on the show. Super excited about having him here, and we'll have him back here before you guys know it. So let's do this. Let's kick it back over to Marty, Mr. Producer, to take it away.
I finally figured out MySpace, and now I've got to go and learn something completely new. I really should hire Jake to run my Instagram. I've only been in that community for a couple of months, and MySpace on Instagram looks like an old man's just uploading pics and videos from his flip phone. Wonder why that is. Great content today. Guys, by my calculations, we're 2 weeks out from Law Entrepreneur Academy Live, November the 7th in Novi, Michigan. Got to say, we're close to capacity at the time of this recording, so if you had any thoughts about attending, get your butt over to LawEntrepreneurAcademy.com right now. Also, L'Entrepreneur Academy is one of the sponsors of Paul Jameson's Fall Road Tour, and we're encouraging all Fullerton Unfiltered listeners to check out the Green Industry Podcast if that's not already a part of your regular podcast consumption.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.